So we'll start from the liquidity ratios here. So I've computed the current ratio for you. So it's 1.5 and 1.4 for these years, and for the competitors ratio is something like 2 and again 2. So we can't derive much of information from these numbers because we need the industry wide average current ratio number to compute to get a meaningful result for this. So this is the current ratio, but to interpret it we need the industry ratio here. So I've also worked out the quick ratio or acid test ratio for you. I've done it in two manners. One is with content and without content and with content. So I've arrived at 8.9 for without taking content into account, and 8.1 for this year, and 11.8 here, and 7.6 again without industry data. We can't interpret it a lot, and with content it comes to 0.43 and 0.39. How come there can be drastic fall from 8 to 0.43? What happens here? See, the company has to pay a huge amount of money for content, and it's a current liability item. So if we see the balance sheet, I think you will have a better idea. So for the acid test ratio or quick ratio, this is what I've done. We've taken this number, cash as the numerator 1942, and divided by 218, because without content, if I do it, I divide 1942 divided by 218. I end up with a number as 8.9. It means the company has huge amount of money which it has as cash and cash equivalent. So the company is very comfortable in paying its current liability item. That is what I've taken is only tax. So the company is comfortable, but it's not only the tax that has to be paid as current liability. The company also has to pay the content also as current liability within the next 1 year or one operating cycle. So it's something like, if you compute a ratio, it's 1942 cash and cash equivalents divided by current liability, that is 4501. So it's 1942 divided by 4501. If we do that, then we end up with a number like 0.43. What does it imply? It implies very simply that the company does not have sufficient cash to pay its current liabilities also. So their current their liquid position is absolutely terrible. So they only have half the amount of cash. So if there's going to be a quick demand of repayment from the content providers or content suppliers, then the company might be in trouble. So those elements have not been given in the case study. For example, what is the line of credit or a bank overdraft the company has, those information are not given. But either way, this is not a good position. The company does not have sufficient cash to pay its current liabilities. So can we work out current inventory turnover ratio? No, we can't do it. Why? Because the company does not have much of an inventory. We can take it as the content and we can work it out, but still I don't think that would be a meaningful ratio for this company. So we'll move on to receivables. Does the company have receivables? See, the company doesn't have any debtors or receivables because all the cash is like received by the company as subscription before the start of the actual usage. So the company doesn't have any debtors as such because they are getting all money upfront, or every content can be viewed only after prepayment. So receivables cannot exist. We'll move on to the payables. Payables turnover ratio you might compute, but again I'm not sure whether you will get correct data on how long the company is paying the cash to their content. So how can you compute it? If you want, you can compute it in by yourself. How you do it? Very simple. You can only take it roughly. So cost of sales, you can assume that this is to be the content, so this is to be the purchase. Again, we don't know whether this purchase is cash purchase or credit purchase, that we don't know. So again, this ratio should be an assumption based. That's one. And what number here you'll use content in current liability as the payables amount. So you can work out the ratio with these two numbers. So current liability is 4283, and take cost of sales, assuming that this cost of sales is entirely payables, so or credit purchase, you assume that it has credit purchase, then you can work out the ratio. But again, I don't think it's worth enough to assume so many things here and do the problem. But either way, if for an exam you compute it and see how the numbers are coming. But we move on to working capital turnover ratio. This ratio tells us how effectively the company is using its working capital in relation to the revenue it generates. So it's very good ratio to find out the efficiency of the company. The company is efficient. Couchweb is efficiently using it around some 6 times and 7 times of its working capital. But when compared to its competitor, I think it's much more better. Couchweb uses its working capital better than Home Video. So that you can arrive. Again, we need industry-wide average data to compute whether this is good or bad. So that's about the liquidity part. We'll move on to the next part, the capital structure part. So I've computed 3 ratios for you: capital gearing ratio, interest coverage ratio, income tax expense. Not income tax expense as such, it's income tax percentage. So if you want me to write, I'll write it as it's income tax. It's not income tax expense, it's income tax percentage. Look at the capital gearing ratio. So I've assumed it is going to be debt by equity ratio. So that's how I computed. So it is purely D by E, debt by equity. That's how I computed it. So if I worked out in that manner, I get this number. So the company is heavily debted. It's when compared to its equity, if equity is 1, its debit is 2.4. That's huge number. That's a very huge number. And even last year it has been similar. And if you also take the company's competitor, they are also excessively leveraged. I don't think you need to compute, you need an industry-wide data to arrive at a conclusion. This is very, very bad. This is very bad for the company. But the trick is when compared, when you analyze it with the other number. Even though the gearing is high, look at the interest coverage ratio. Interest coverage ratio tells us the ability of the company to repay its interest. So if you take the financial numbers, so I'll just quickly show you how I've computed it. The numerator is operating profit 1084 divided by 184. So it's just a divide it, you will get the answer. So 1084 divided by 184, I think it would come to 5.89. Okay, that's correct. So 5.9 is the number. So it says that the company has 5 times or 6 times the ability to pay the finance cost. The point is, we need to, if you compute what is the cost of interest. Okay, what is the cost of interest? So I will slowly do it here. We'll just try to find out what would be the cost of the debt or interest or debt. We'll just try to quickly find it out. So we know that interest is 184. We'll divide 184 by the total debt that the company has. Total debt that the company has is how much? Total debt. Okay. Total debt, how much they have borrowed is 5321. 5321. Let's see how much that comes to. Of course, you have to put a multiplication or into 100. If you do it, we'll quickly see how much it comes to. 3.45. What does this 3.45 say imply? It means the company is borrowing at an interest rate of 3.45, which is absolutely low. In the future, if the interest is going to rise, the company will suffer a lot. So the company will be terribly suffering a lot because the debt is so huge, but interest is so low. That's why, the debt is too huge and the interest percentage is too low. That's why your interest as an amount is low. But if this number is going to be something like not 3.5, and if it goes to 5, let's see what would happen to our interest to be paid. It would be 5321 into 5%, 0.05 would come to 266. Now it would open a new set of problems. Okay, so there again if this is 266, then this won't be 184, it will be 266, and that would cause much more fall in the profit before tax element, and the profit for the year would also suffer. So there is a terrible amount of problem if interest rate is going to go up by a few percentage points. So even macroeconomic things has to be taken into account. I think F3 is going to play a lot here. So that's about these things. I've also computed what is the income tax percentage currently. Earlier it was 27%, so you could see for both companies it was 27% in 2017. Now income tax has been fallen to 24%. Even that could have raised the profit for the year part. So that's about the profitability, that's about the capital structure ratio here. We'll move on to the next part.